Hello everyone, my name is Zilfalon, and welcome to Gaminglounge. I have with me again the game dev Chris. How are you
Hey,
doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great, great. So every journey is a series of choices. The first is to begin the journey. And I thought this time, after Chris is showing off his skills in the Mario Maker editor, I thought about showing him something that his mind might get crazy about.
Especially after we just did Please Don't Push Anything on GDPG, and we had our brains melted. Seemed appropriate to play another brain melting puzzle game.
Yeah, definitely.
So should I just jump in here?
Yeah, sure, jump in, jump.
Leap of faith. Let's
jump.
jump into jump. All right. So I get to, oh, well, why would I go that way?
I don't know.
If there's a, or, oh
Oh,
my. Do you think this is where I came from? Just like warped me through here?
I don't think, no, it's not. No.
Alright, well let's
Nope.
do the jump thing. Okay, whoa, great, oh no. Alright,
Disco! So,
wow.
all these, just as a side note, all these things exactly, failing to succeed does not mean failing to progress.
Interesting.
So, all these little things give you little hints about what's happening.
Okay. And I think that's a really good first message to tell the player too, because it kind of sets the precedence for the rest of the entire game. Some paths are clearer than others.
Exactly. However, this game really, this is actually the first section where you think like, what?
Okay. A choice may be as simple as going left or going right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick to the red path. This red's a way better color.
You think?
Oh, of course. Okay, well, this stayed like this, so maybe that means I just looped.
Maybe.
That's my guess. Oh, oh, okay. Choice doesn't matter if the outcome is the same. Thanks.
So what now?
Okay, well then what happens if I go backward? Aha.
Whoa!
When you
This was
return to where you have been, things aren't always as remembered. Oh, okay, so they're basically saying, yeah, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Whoa.
Exactly, but how, if you think about going forward, how would you ever think about going backwards to get somewhere new?
It's true. I mean, that's pretty classic for games, right? Like,
You think? Okay.
I think it's very popular in a lot of like maze-like games, you know, where I mean, have you ever played Zelda, like Ocarina of Time?
Yeah.
It's like interesting. It's like the Lost Maze where you know, there's always at least one section where you have to go backward, because it's like every time I guess I'm doing a bad job explaining it, but like, I don't know, I think it's a pretty common puzzle mechanic.
Okay. What if you walk?
Whoa. Stuff like this always like, oh man, this always messes with my head. I feel like I've been seeing this kind of thing happen in games a lot more often lately, where it'll
Really?
like generate a path underneath you.
Okay.
And really the only time I have issues with it is when they like say like they generated this path, right?
Yeah.
And they put like random gaps in it, but it's generating so close to my feet that it's really hard to anticipate where the gaps are.
Oh.
And so suddenly the challenge becomes like, how do I step carefully so I don't fall, but also get the path to generate so I can continue forward? Oh god. Whoa. Whoa.
This actually is something really cool. Did you just notice how you push down the bottom?
Yes. Sort of. I mean, I was kind of looking in all directions when it happened, but
If you if you would jump down just directly on it.
Like right now?
Yeah.
What? Oh, like, oh, whoa. Okay, so it just like...
Yeah,
goes...
but you have to have momentum, right?
Yeah.
Put some
I
weight
didn't
on.
catch that. That's kind of cool. Whoa. Come on. There you go. All right, go, go, go. Yeah. Psh.
Woohoo!
Ooh, what do we have
Found the
here?
black hole.
Dig a little deeper and you might find something new. That's exactly what I just did. Unless... Oh!
Let's.
What the
Let's go
fuck?
through.
Oh. Alright. Well then. That's the thing that happened. What appears impossible may have a very simple answer. What?
Interestingly, you have,
Oh. Okay, there we go.
you have already seen so many rooms, and as you've seen in the beginning, there have been just 2-3 different mechanics, like going back to find something new, then this pressure plate, and this room where you look from a different angle, you see something completely different, you're thinking like, okay, how this can physically be all in the same space.
Mm-hmm.
But now you've seen so many rooms, and you think like, okay, there's so many rooms, so many things that I've already seen. What have I not seen? I need to go back.
Oh.
Exactly, and then you're through. You're somewhere else.
Whoa. Yeah, that's kind of the thing with these types of games too, is that it's like, oftentimes you find puzzle games and it's sort of like a one-trick pony where, you know, they throw one thing at you that you really don't expect and then they kind of like reuse it until it's like, okay, well, this is no longer interesting because you sort of just like used all your best ideas right away. This game, I feel like I've heard so many great things about it, so I guess my expectation is that they do a great job at continuing to invent new ways to introduce different types of puzzles to the player, but I guess I have yet to find out. Some choices can leave us running around in circles.
Well, you're getting around very quickly. I think this is more than TB had been able to get within 40 minutes.
You know, it's actually a little surprising because it's...
Keep going.
Well, I've also have the advantage of you helping me, like with that room that I had to like jump down to really get through.
Yeah.
You
Think you're getting anywhere?
Doesn't seem like
Do you
it.
think it's a little? It gets more and more
Narrow? Oh, wait, it's totally getting smaller.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's hard to see though.
It is really hard to see, especially when you're running through that so fast. You kind of get like dizzy from the changing patterns, which that's
like
totally an intentional choice too. Because imagine if this was all just like a white wall, it'd be really hard to have like a sense of the room changing.
Yeah.
So I think that was smart.
All persistence, something.
Oh.
You noticed the arrow. I am impressed.
I'm gonna guess.
However.
Oh, I see. So do I have to?
Yep. Yeah, I have to go
that's
back.
clever. A few steps backward may keep you moving forwards. I like it. So you've played this game. Have you beaten this game? Like
No.
played all the way through? No?
I have not. After about 2 hours in, I was still running around in rooms that you're currently seeing because I felt like I've missed something somewhere, and I'm running around. So there is, if you look over there, behind the window.
This thing?
The other way, through the other window.
Oh, I see.
Exactly. If you look through there, a little bit, so there is a weapon, sort of thing, which does something. Okay, I don't want to give it away, but it does something. But finding it and getting there is not easy. It requires some trying out some stuff, and after you have it, you feel like you want to go back some spaces. You want to go here, you want to go there, and then you suddenly feel like, okay, I can't reach that place anymore.
I gotcha. That's interesting too. I guess I didn't really expect there to be anything like a weapon in this game.
Oh yeah, there are several in
Oh.
different colors, the same thing but in different colors, and they do different stuff. But I only got the first one, and after some time, I got really frustrated because I couldn't get my mind around what's going on. I'm a very logical person, and I like puzzles. I played Portal 2 within, I don't know, 6 hours or something. But this game was really difficult. And this time, I don't think you can get anywhere with going backwards.
Well, the reason, so the, actually
Wait
the reason
a
I
second,
went...
Turn around. Turn around?
This?
Oh. That wasn't where you came from, but,
Yeah, so I went through this zone backward because it gets so dark. Moving forward, you actually can't see anything, but if you stare at the little glowing circle, you actually get a little bit of sense of direction, and you can see, like, when you hit a wall, so then you can move left and right.
Okay. Yeah. Arrow. So how do you like the aesthetic so far?
Oh, I think it's stunning. I think their use of color is probably one of the best things they have going on for them. And like from an art perspective, it's actually, ooh, I'm closer. From an art perspective, it's actually pretty clever because they don't have to ever worry about making textures for, whoa. Life isn't about getting to the end. They don't have to make textures for anything, right? Like, I guess technically this grid is a texture, but other than that, like, most of these walls are just like flat polygons with some like vector coloring or probably like color shaders on them. Yeah, I guess I don't know how they would have done the gradient so much. I imagine that was some sort of shader. But either way, it allows them to focus more on building out interesting levels rather than making everything highly detailed like something like Portal would be.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I think they were both smart with their use of the art in this game, and
Go back.
and they did a good job
Backwards.
stylizing it.
There you go.
Okay. At times we need
So
to view
just-
the world from someone else's perspective.
Exactly. You just jumped over.
Oh shoot! Yeah. Wow. Okay.
You don't even notice it. It's incredible. So
Yeah,
the same
it is.
Same thing happens there. Sort of. If you get to it.
I feel like I have to align.
Nope.
Sort of.
Are you getting somewhere?
I feel like no. So maybe this
I feel
isn't.
like trying the same thing in this game over and over again is the one thing I didn't do. Because you pretty much know very quickly that if one thing doesn't work, it just doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, it is pretty kind of quick to jump to those conclusions, I think. Although this is interesting.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, sometimes it's like, okay, well, I feel like it should be obvious what to do, and then it's really
Yeah,
not.
you have done this before. You have done this before.
Oh, here we go. There we go.
Exactly.
Yeah, buddy.
There you go.
What does it do? What am I
So
doing?
there's a left and a right click mode.
Is there? Whoa.
And actually the game tells you on the wall.
Oh, I see. So right click. Or look. Except nothing really seems to like.
Yeah, but you have done this before. There's one thing, if you forget the weapon.
Are you just saying I should go? I guess that would make
No.
sense.
You could, but that's not going forward. Even though we know that going forward may not get you forward.
Yeah, that's true. I guess this game is generally pretty forward-driven. It's only really... Oh...
Exactly. Well, no.
So I need another one.
Why? Just put that up there. Take that. Get the door open. And then... Nope.
No?
Nope. You tried to do it once before when you stood at the door. By the way. When you stood at the door and the door was closed. What did you try to do?
You mean like walk backward through it?
No.
Oh, wait.
Up. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
I feel like a dope. That was a little bit more... That was probably one of the more obvious puzzles that I just totally just blanked on.
But it's interesting how there is a very obvious puzzle at some point, and you're already starting to think way more complicated than necessary.
Oh yeah, that's part of like... Oh, wow, that was cool. That's part of like the glamour of it, I think, is that, you know, if you get your players in a certain mindset, suddenly you can start messing with them in ways that they least expect it.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I'm digging this gun. I think this changes up the game a lot. Oh, I can't get that one back.
I believe you can. I think at some point you have to.
Oops, I just screwed myself. So while I'm figuring this out, did you, I feel like I remember you mentioning that you had some questions queued up for...
Yeah. Well, currently, so you're currently working on Mario Maker a lot, and I asked you before whether or not you're thinking about making videos, designing something where you think players are already familiar with the game.
Mm-hmm.
Are you planning on doing something like that?
Oh yeah, I think so many of our episodes right now have been... Oh, I am stupid. I know what I need to do. The same thing I did earlier. But yes, basically, now that we've had a bunch of episodes that kind of focus on like how to teach your player how to do this thing that you are, you know, designing your levels for, I think now Intangible and I can start focusing on doing a little bit crazier stuff. We're still sort of experimenting with the Mario Maker series. Did I just screw myself?
I think you did, yeah. I think you pretty much did. Wow, I didn't... I didn't think that was possible.
Well then.
Oh, I honestly didn't know that's possible.
Where was I? Was this where I was last? It must be.
I think it was, yeah, skinning a cat.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Might also try some other room, just
Wow. I like... Yeah, I like this a lot, actually, because not only does it make it easy to kind of go back when you made mistakes, but now we can just go around to a bunch of different things.
Interestingly, have you seen the first room just now?
Oh yeah, are these all the... These must be all the ones that I've checked.
Yes, but what I meant was the first room you went to, Leap of Faith. So now it says WTF.
Oh
Okay,
wait, this is sort of... We passed this at one point again.
Oh yeah, we did. No, it was, maybe it was the one underneath that, interestingly.
Whoa. Oh, there's that.
Oh, bye-bye! But I'm really looking forward to seeing one of those videos. What is the difference in doing something for play? I mean, there are obviously games around that are aimed at players who are already familiar with the game or with the gameplay. How's that different to designing a game than if you just consider your player a total noob?
Well, I mean, we kind of see a lot of that stuff in games that have sequels, right? Because it's like, the assumption, I guess, is that the existing player base... Is there a third one? No.
No, you did fine before. Why not take one? Take the... You did great. Yeah. Okay. Take the one. Put it up there. Get the other one. Exactly. Now... Yep.
Oh, wait, I think I know what I'm goofing up.
You can't jump that high. Who do you think you are? Come on. Okay, yes, exactly. Yep. Take the other one.
Yep, I am
Put it there.
a dope. There we go.
Yes.
Wow, so simple.
Actually, it kind of is sometimes. If you figure it out, you're like, oh yeah, right, that makes sense. It's... But then you think, the next one, I'm gonna get this.
Right? But yeah, oh, it opened that door behind me too. But
So
yeah.
how is it different?
So if you're building a game with the expectation that the player already understands how the game works, I guess you can generally make things a little bit more advanced to begin with. But no matter what, I guess like a game is generally going to introduce more complicated mechanics if that is the case. So no matter what, there's going to be some level of teaching your player how to... I don't know if I want to agree. I'm gonna do it. Oh God, why? Oh. Man, they really chose a good way of making it unsettling.
Is it a bird? Is it a airplane? No, it is. Ah.
You know, it's a great thing there's no falling damage in this game.
Yeah. You're gonna be so screwed.
Right?
So the walls would be red.
But yeah, so basically, I think really when it comes down to it, it doesn't change a ton.
Okay.
Because I think no matter what, there's going to be some level of teaching your player how to play your game.
Okay.
And if you're not introducing new or more challenging mechanics as you build the game, then I think you really have to ask the question of, is your game interesting enough?
Let me give you a hint. There is no limit on the cubes you can have at once.
Oh, shoot. I guess, I don't know why I assumed that I could only carry one at a time.
And now, check out your weapon. Doesn't it look cool?
That is pretty cool, actually.
For a very simple... for a very simple showing off game, I don't know, graphics, it's... Did
Oh, it's this place.
Oh, you went through it again.
Sorry, what were you saying?
For a very simple appearance of a game as this, I find that the gun suddenly looks very, very detailed.
You know, I would agree. I think actually a large part of that is because it's one of the few things in this game so far that have rounded edges.
All right.
It is still kind of polygonal, so you can see some hard lines on it, but it's very circular in an angular world.
Okay. Do you think this game introduces you to new mechanics that are progressively getting harder? Or do you think they're all as hard as they can be?
I think the gun certainly switches things up a lot. I think, so the way it kind of is set up is there's, generally games have a, like what's it called? It's like, sort of a difficulty flow, but it's also sort of like an engagement flow where it kind of like, it peaks, it increases, right? It starts really low and then it gets higher and higher until it kind of peaks out and then it dips down a little bit, but it still is like higher than the original starting like engagement level, I guess is one way to describe it.
Okay.
Whoa. Oh. Well, I guess I didn't need to worry about that.
Nope.
And so what happens is basically it ebbs and flows until it always is constantly increasing. And so like right when we got the gun was probably where the engagement peak just like it just had its peak and it sort of started over, right? So it went back to the low point, and then after that they could introduce new things, new types of puzzles that the gun can be incorporated in. And so now that we have the gun, the difficulty is slowly increasing until we get to the next big thing, and then it's going to drop back down and then slowly increase as we kind of figure out how things work. I feel like this thing is going to explode. Ah! Is this just here to mess with me?
Well, I'm not gonna say.
No, there's more to this.
Maybe.
There's gotta be. Oh no! My cube.
I feel like this game gives you... It doesn't stop throwing new things at you. And doesn't... Well, there's not so many things it repeats. It repeats the doors, it repeats the lasers.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, every riddle feels completely different, since they're presenting it in a very different way each time. This time, for example, you went through that. We had that before, but we did that in a completely different environment, completely presented differently. If you would, for example, let's take Mario Maker for example. Mm-hmm. You have Super Mario. You have a block with a question mark on it.
Oh.
You hit it, okay, and this block with a question mark will not change. It will always be the same. However, the challenge is jumping underneath it. But here, same things happen, but you get it presented in a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
So here you're following a trail. We had that in green, we had that in red, I think. And now you're back at where you got the gun. So you're actually running backwards now.
Yes.
But that doesn't matter because you have this quick travel system where you can go to each and every room that you've discovered, with whatever you currently have at hand.
Yeah, and I think consequence of failure is really, really low because of that, and I think that's important for a game especially like this, right, where it's like it's a puzzle game, but it's also sort of like it disappears if you jump. Interesting. So that's the challenge there. But it allows the player to continuously run back and forth and kind of figure things out.
Yes. Here in puzzle games especially, it's really hard to make a puzzle game fit for everyone, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
Because I know there are people out there who are incredibly bad at puzzles because they have, I don't know, they maybe have no sense of three-dimensional vision, or some logic doesn't, seem as right to them as it would feel to someone else.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
and I feel like if always taking the right riddles at the right point for the right person is something that I feel is really, really hard to hit.
I completely agree. And especially like 3D puzzle games are both one of the most difficult types of puzzles to make. But in turn, it's also one of the more difficult puzzles to play and figure out. And I think that's why the Portal games were so successful, was because like they did it right. They really figured out how to make those puzzles engaging and not be overly difficult.
Exactly, because they stepped they made one little step each chamber, and they only had the one portal gun and it was always you go through that portal and you come out the other end. Okay, you have some gels which change things up a little, but you still have to use the portals to distribute the gel and get anywhere. But the thing here is, I mean, can you solve a Rubik's Cube?
Yes.
You can. I can.
They're
my
not,
mind blows up if I try to do it.
don't get me wrong, I'm not good at solving them. I certainly don't have the like pattern matching skills that like expert Rubik's Cube solvers do have. But I think it's one of those things that once you figure it out, right, like once you realize what the pattern is you need to look for, suddenly it becomes a lot more intuitive.
Okay. Well, every time I try it, I feel like, oh dear. Hope I'm not gonna shame myself.
Yeah, I mean,
myself.
that's why I never make bets whenever I try to solve a Rubik's Cube.
Go away, let me do this alone. Don't look. Don't look.
Yep.
This thing is almost the same. You're running around, and maybe some people have already figured out as they're watching what you should have done next. Okay, where you should have gone, and now you're showing off that you can't figure it out.
Oh yeah, well,
This one is really interesting.
it makes me wonder too how many people watch Let's Plays of games like this, right, where they've played it and they know the answer. It makes me wonder how many people get frustrated because watching someone try to figure out something is totally different than figuring it out yourself.
Yeah.
And you have different like tolerances or like levels of patience, I guess.
Definitely. Have you ever created a game with riddles?
Not
Or
riddles.
a riddles-focused one?
I've certainly made my fair share of puzzle games. Back when I was in
Okay.
school, I worked on a very interesting 3D. It was sort of a 3D puzzle game. Basically, the concept was you have a sphere, and we've actually seen a few. I wonder if I can find a good example in. I think it was in this room. No, it wasn't in this room. Wait, maybe. It looked something kind of like this, actually, believe it or not, where it's like you
Okay.
have this sphere that rotates, and you have these kind of little narrow platforms, and it was like sort of a puzzle in that you had to navigate a little like laser beam across those little like circle pieces, and find a way to like disarm the device. And if you ever if the laser fell off of one of those little platforms, the thing would blow up and you would get a game over. So it was sort of like a solve this puzzle as quick as possible kind of thing. So it was sort of a skill-based puzzle, which it was very interesting to design. Unfortunately, we never released it because I think our programmer kind of dipped out toward the end, but he also got a Real People job, so I don't really blame him.
Real people's job.
Yeah, he got a job at Way Forward, and so it was like, well, you got a job working at a legitimate game studio. I can't really hold that against you since we were making just like weird iPhone games at that point.
No, you can't. But that actually reminds me, there are these little cubes where there are like 70 different paths, and you have a little ball in it, and you have to turn this. It's a physical ball. It's not a computer game, and you have to turn the ball, always adjusting so the little ball runs along a path through different obstacles and stuff, and it's not easy. But that is more of a agility type puzzle, while this is more a brain puzzle.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, there actually is the time factor involved, which I guess I really wonder why they included a time remaining in this game.
I don't know. I can't really tell.
Right, like maybe it was sort of a method of making the game feel stressful enough to kind of like, I don't know,
Get somewhere?
Yeah, I guess maybe they felt that the game wasn't challenging enough on its own. And I kind of get that, but at the same time, I actually don't think it's appropriate for this game, because it's already interesting enough on its own that I don't think it needs that stress factor to make it satisfying to beat.
Well, other than that, the only thing you can do is beat the game, but you cannot lose the game if you don't have a timer, right?
Right.
So there's nothing that prevents you from taking all the time in the world, and does it make it a game if you can't win or lose?
Well, that's the question, right? I think that the lose scenario in this game, if there was no time, was the player giving up.
Okay.
Because that's how it is in most puzzle games, right? Like, I don't think that that's and I don't think that's so wrong to like kind of get meta about it and say like the game over scenario is giving up, because I think that's totally fair.
Okay. The game scenario is giving up. The game's losing scenario. Okay. Not sure how many people would accept that.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of a it might be an unpopular opinion, but I like to design games that are more about the experience rather than about the challenge.
Okay.
And so I think this game would completely survive as kind of that same sort of concept.
Ooh, you're getting...
You know, we'll make this even easier. I'll do this. Yeah.
You're getting creative.
Well, I mean, they gave me the means of doing it. I've also noticed that, oh man. I've noticed that most of these other zones have that little barrier that removes your cubes as soon as you... Ah, shit. Well...
goodbye, cubes.
I could climb up here with these cubes, but I don't think I will.
Cubes. Yeah, right. It doesn't matter how far they are away.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that also implies that you will at some point have to use that option.
You know, that is totally possible. I feel like if they made me climb a huge wall like this, that would be kind of a cruddy thing to expect a player to do, just because it would take so long.
Yeah, and you're not exploring anything new. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again until you are on the top. Exactly.
Whoa. Yeah.
But I think it's one of the interesting thought about the win and lose scenario. Speaking of designing anything, are you working on something currently?
A few things actually.
Okay. Anything worth talking about?
Well, I don't remember if I mentioned this last time I did a recorded with you. I don't know if I mentioned the Golem fishing game, which was that little silly adventure game.
I think you did, yeah.
That one's actually, we kind of put that one on hold. Oh, I think
okay.
The stairs go up. What? They do. But anyway, so I've been working on a game with one of my programmer friend actually that works at WayForward. He and I are working on a game. I probably shouldn't mention that actually because
no, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. Nobody watches this video anyway.
Oh. But we're working on a little.
Give me a like, folks. Now you gotta give me a like. And this as well, okay, for showing off that you've seen this video.
Oh, I always do.
Yeah.
So we're working on a little mobile game called Fish Slap, which is it's a super silly game, but it kind of plays on classic D&D tropes of like, you know, monsters, and we kind of put them in a silly setting. And have you ever played Infinity Blade? It was a very popular mobile game.
No, I didn't. I'm not playing too many mobile games. Most of them turn me off by having a very annoying business model.
I generally agree. I tend to not play very many mobile games too. I'm very fond of Infinity Blade though, because it did something very different and new, especially like not even just for mobile games but for games in general. And it basically had the concept of fighting in a first-person perspective. Dang it. Maybe I shouldn't be trying to go up this way. But basically, the concept was you are some sort of, melee fighter. You have like a sword or something, and you're presented this big monster, and he takes up most of the screen. And the way you interact with the game is you just swipe left and right, and tap to dodge and things like that. And it's sort of like a what's that game called?
Cut the rope.
Like it's kind of like Punch Out, right? Where
Punch Out. Oh yeah.
You're evading certain attacks, and then you're striking when the opportunity is given to you, and it really like gave it a very modern design, and I thought it was absolutely interesting and fantastic. And so Fish Slap is sort of inspired by this similar type of design, where that's the way we expect the player to interact with the game, is to have that kind of combat. But we're making it a little bit more adventure-y and a little bit more comical, and I mean, you're fighting with a fish as your primary weapon. And you're going around and basically slapping a bunch of classic D&D monsters wearing fancy clothes, because you're...
Magikarp, go use splash.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And you're in a fancy mansion, like an 1860s like London mansion. And so all the D&D monsters, we have like a beholder wearing a top hat and wearing a bow tie, or like like a displacer beast wearing like a dog collar and like acting like a hunting dog. It's just like a bunch of goofy little stuff like that. That's I'm probably rambled a bit on that, but that's basically the main game I'm working on right now. And then Intangible has started up another project where he and one of our... I don't know if you've interacted with Harry Poppins.
No.
No. But his real name is Nick, and he's been kind of on and off with... I'm not worried. But he's actually been on GDPG before. He and I have been doing a playthrough of the Curious Expedition, and he's probably one of the best writers that I know, and so he's finally starting to dab his feet into game design. So he and Intangible are actually working on making a game, and then they're the paper prototype stage, so it's very, very early on. But the hope is that if it's good, then they'll get a programmer, or we'll recruit a programmer and actually make it a full-fledged thing. But it's a very, very ambitious project.
Oh, it is. Do you at least know the genre?
It's a turn-based strategy. Have you ever played Final Fantasy Tactics?
Final Fantasy Tactics? Yeah, I was never the Final Fantasy fan. Sorry, folks. I take the blame on me. But Final Fantasy Tactics was, in fact, really interesting.
I think Intangible will argue any day that is one of the most well-designed games you could get.
Really?
Yes, he is a fanatic about it.
Okay. We should certainly have a deeper conversation about that. However, I have 2 more questions. First, is there any indie game right now out there, or not yet out there, which you're looking forward to see?
Well, there is an indie game that I'm excited to play that I recently purchased, and that's Undertale.
Undertale, okay.
If you haven't heard about it, it is...
I heard about it, but I haven't really looked into it yet.
It's one of the most well-received games ever in a very long time. I think it got a lot of hype because it recently surpassed the Metacritic score for Half-Life 2 as one of the best games ever made.
Okay.
Yeah, It kind of blew my mind when I heard that. And when I first saw it, I was like, okay, well, this looks fun, but it's, it just seems kind of like another RPG.
I just turned up the Steam page on it, and I actually had it open a couple days ago, and I thought, this is a joke. Overwhelmingly positive, my ladies and gentlemen. 18,122 reviews.
And it's considered exceptionally well made for multiple. Oh wow, this keeps going. Okay, whew, made it. Finally did it, guys. Yeah. So it's considered exceptionally well made for a lot of reasons, and I think one of the big things that it uses is it's a great example of a game that really uses surprise and wonderment. Like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. To probably like the best ability that I've ever really seen. So much so that there are secrets so deep that there is a subreddit dedicated to data mining the game.
What?
To find more secrets in the code.
Oh, okay.
It's crazy, but it's awesome that the fan base has gotten so nuts about it that they want to do that, and I think that's amazing. If I can ever make a game that does that, I will feel proud.
Yeah, trying to get in contact with Edward McCullen, the guy who did Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac.
Oh, McMillan,
yeah, that's it. McCullen. Anyway, Binding of Isaac was really one of those that people like stormed in and built a wiki, and it was so incredibly big. To get all of this, and you could there's so many tiny things in the wiki that says if you do some certain things, it will you have a slightly better chance at getting something else, which is completely incredible. But I can't still, if I see the pictures of Undertale, I still can't say this is a game I will like, because I don't like the aesthetic so much. This is certainly not a game for me where I say, well, I'm gonna play this for hours, maybe half an hour, and then take it off. But it says overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
And I actually, I put it in my wish list, okay? I put it in my wish list. I had it in my wish list to put it back again, because I looked at the pictures again, and I'm like, this can't be. This is 18,122 people can't actually be wrong, right?
Exactly. And that was the thing with me too, right? Like I saw the aesthetic and I was like, okay, well, this looks fun. It just doesn't look like it's going to be, the greatest thing ever made. And then, when the rest of the internet was like, no, this is the greatest thing ever made, I was like, well, I guess I should give it a shot. And I watched a couple Let's Plays of it, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. Like, have all of my money.
Wow. Okay. I'm really glad that games, and this is actually my personal opinion as well, are getting a lot of attention for what they are and not what they look like.
Yes. I think part of that has actually to thank for the indie community. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, the indie community still makes plenty of games that have absolutely stunning artwork. Yes. But we also make plenty of games that don't.
Yeah, like Banner Saga is a great aesthetic.
Exactly. So I think there's kind of a movement, right, where we look at a lot of AAA games and we're like, man, these are absolutely beautiful, but the gameplay is just horrendous.
Look at Call of Duty, do the same thing over and over again.
Exactly.
I remember where they had the press release and they were like, you have a dog now. And you're like, wow, that's the new thing in Call of Duty. I got a dog. That's amazing. Wow.
I even toured the studio at Raven Software, and they were like, oh man, we've got some crazy stuff going on. Like, here's the artwork of the dog. You're not allowed to talk about this, though. And I was like, what? Okay, that's cool.
Wow. So here, sometimes, and then you gotta think, for them, how much they paid for the guy to actually make the dog. You could actually fund a full-fledged indie game with it.
Oh, without a doubt.
So you can make an awesome game like Antichamber and have people succumb to their limitations in their brain.
right? Although I guess like that is kind of a misconception, though. I think about a lot of indie games is that people often assume that indie games are cheap to make. I recently saw a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen. Oh, whoa! I don't know if you've seen that Tim Schafer, the guy that made Psychonauts, recently launched another Kickstarter for Psychonauts 2. And there was a lot of backlash because people were like, hey, Psychonauts is Double Fine is already making so much money. Why would they do crowdfunding?
Yeah, use that money you got there. I mean, you got the crowdfunding first to get that one out. Then you got people buying the game, and then use that money, please, to make up your new game.
But the
the
thing is, I don't think that that's so wrong to do.
Okay.
Because it's at that point, it's literally no different than pre-ordering a game. No different. You know it's going to get made. You're just buying the game, like a month or like 6 months ahead of its release, or a year ahead of its release. But all things considered, it's really not that different from a pre-order. And so that's kind of what upset me about people freaking out about it, because it's like it's not bad. And asking for $3.3 million is a lot more reasonable than I think people think that it does. I think the misconception is that because so many indies make games on like a $6,000 budget, that games don't cost that much money to make. That's not true. Those $6,000 that those indie developers are asking for, that's rarely enough to ever make a game. They're probably eating nothing but ramen noodles during the entire development of that game, and living at their parents' house because they can't afford to live anywhere else.
Probably, yeah.
So, like, really, the misconception is that the indies are asking for too little.
Yeah, exactly. I live in a very expensive area, and I know if you're asking for 6,000 euros, you'd be like, okay, I can afford rent for 4 months. That's pretty much it. And I haven't gotten anything to eat yet, and I run around naked in my house. That's pretty much it. So in the end, I feel like I actually met there is an indie studio here in Munich, and they're making a game about two guys that are basically slimy blobs, and they showed that at a showcase once, and I really liked the mechanic so far, but I felt like, okay, there are like 3 people working on this, and aesthetically it looks astonishing actually for their first project. It has an own physics engine, I think, and it's amazing from that point of view, from what they made. I'm not sure how well it will be received. It's a puzzle game as well, with two blobs that are basically sort of water and slimy. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to do some stuff with weight and water physics, and making the one bigger and the other one smaller and all that kind of stuff. So it looks really interesting, but I feel like when 3 people are working on a project that looks so polished, I feel like they have worked on this for over 5 years. And I talked to the guy, and I said to him, well, I'm pretty sure this must have been tons of work, and I wish you a lot of luck and a lot of success with it, because I sort of think I know how hard this can be. And he looked at me. He was surprised about what I said. I'm not exactly sure what kind of words I used, but he was really surprised and nodded, and it was, he felt like, okay, someone acknowledged that we put tons of work into this, and we haven't just doing this for the past 6 months. We have been doing this for the past 3 years, and have, tried to live on something while also making this game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really hard thing if you're just starting out as an indie developer.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a really hard thing. Anyway, do you have any final thoughts on Antichamber?
Well, my main thought is that
stuck in a loop, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm sort of at that point where it's like I don't want to waste people's time making them watch me like make it through this thing really slowly. But then I just didn't discover anything new, so I suppose I did the same thing either way. But my main thought right now is that I definitely plan on playing the rest of this because I'm fascinated. I knew I would be fascinated. I really should have played this game a lot sooner.
I feel like you're at a little bit off to where I got. I got, I think, a couple rooms further, probably at the same time, but at some point, you know, I was doing the same thing, running around in circles, coming across the same rooms over and over and over again, and getting to the same barriers where I thought, okay, what am I supposed to do here? And sometimes it's not obvious. I mean, look at the ground. If you run forward, the stairs will come, right? So you don't ever know if something like that will happen in any other room in a different way. So basically what I thought was I might as well walk along each wall through the whole thing and just hope one wall disappears as I walk.
Yeah, no, and that's totally fair. You really never know when it's gonna happen.
No, just don't.
Which maybe you could call that a design flaw of the game. I don't know if I would.
Sure, I feel like Antichamber is a game that feels to me that anything they put into this game, especially with that very simplistic, well, sort of simplistic visual, that every little thing they put in there is there for a reason and very carefully designed.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
Especially if you have to do puzzles. Puzzles is, as I said before, I think one of the hardest things to make because you have to adjust the difficulty of the puzzle to your audience, but you don't know yet who the audience is going to be. So you're going to make a puzzle game that you think is challenging and appeals to a lot of people that enjoy that kind of puzzle.
Yeah, and you know, I almost wonder too when they were designing this game if they designed this with like, you know, how can we just like mess with people's brains more than like, you know, will people enjoy this? Maybe, maybe not. But if people like Portal, then they'll probably like, you know, style a puzzle like this.
Yes, and when you design a puzzle, everything needs to be on point for the puzzle to work. Right? You can't be off some points. You have to give the right hints. You have to lead the person to a certain place. If you feel like there is something invisible that will appear if he gets there, you have to lead him. Like for example, this word fly. Okay, the word fly, what does it lead to? You jump off the cliff probably and think like, okay, you can fly, because you already know that there is no falling damage in the game. I mean, when you get there.
Even the name of the room above where it says Crimea River, that says everything about it too, because it says fly, and you know, you fall, and maybe players will be like, oh, that's stupid. Yeah. Why would you make me do that? It's like Crimea River. I'm teaching you how to play this game.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so even the title, every little single thing is exactly as planned. So that's why I think you can't put anything unnecessary in a game like this.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Because then it just becomes a distraction.
Exactly, and I don't feel like some things are a design, or some things, as you said before, that is a design flaw. I don't think that's a design flaw. I think that is deliberate.
Yes, I definitely agree.
So you're gonna play the rest of it? I don't want to bore everyone with you jumping and jumping and jumping and jumping.
Yeah.
But we can jump. We figured that out really before the game. I told him there is gravity, so you can't jump, and he tried to jump.
That's true.
Like, there is. So I gave you a little hint. There is gravity, and you instantly tried to press the space bar, even though the game didn't tell you to use the space bar to jump.
Oh man.
So it's already knowledge that you got from other games. takes
It's
the
true.
same controls.
I'm definitely one of those players too that just like I'll touch every single button until I figure out everything I can do.
Don't want to read the menu. No, menu is not for me.
Oh no. If a game relies on teaching you how to play it through menus or tutorial text, then I'm instantly turned off because I generally think that that's bad design. It's lazy
Okay.
is kind of what it boils down
Yeah.
to.
I know
Whoa!
what So there is a new room that he found.
Yeah, I guess I should have gone this way sooner since I kind of knew that the
Wow,
floor
I think
would...
that must be so confusing right now.
Oh, I see what I gotta do here.
Yeah, you can push it.
Well, anyway.
And now, woohoo!
Whoa. Huh.
If you look up,
Oh,
so if you jump at the right moment, you can get there.
interesting. Okay. That's kind of clever.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, it was very nice talking to you too, and thanks for having me on your show again.
Yeah, of course. Always welcome. And I hope you will finish the game at some point.
Oh, yes.
Some point. Tell me how it was because I couldn't. I actually had to look it up, and I watched a speedrun type of video because this game you can easily speedrun once you know everything.
That makes sense. I mean, that's kind of what I was sort of saying before too, is that once you figure it out, it's like, this is a lot more straightforward than you might have thought.
Especially there are so far no elements that require timing.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike in Portal 2, where you, for example, have to put on the portals and have to wait for the goo to fall through the portal and get somewhere, and then you can do something else.
Right.
You're not reliant on anything else. You're doing everything yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Can be as quickly as you can. All right, then I hope everybody has a good night, good day, or whatever their time is. And thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and see you next time.
Cool. See you, everybody.